Summer 2025 is a banger season, and wait, what? My non-existent producer is telling me that summer is over? We are in October? Wow, I never consented to the inevitable passage of time, and yet here we are. And so, even though I didn't watch everything that I wanted to, I still have to take a look back at this summer season and tell you guys what was amazing, what blew me away, what was good and entertaining, and what was meh and perhaps not as exciting as it could have been. In this season, I will also be doing a sort of look back at the honorable mentions, anime that I did have my eye on but didn't manage to watch because, to be honest, these past few months have been just a bit crazy. So let's take a look at what I did watch, and then at the end I'll do a sort of honorable mentions, just quickly glance through them, and maybe you guys in the comments can also tell me what is worth my time going back and watching. So without further ado, let's start! Starting off right away with Clevatess, the last anime in this list that I did watch. So to be completely transparent, there may be a recency bias here because I did finish watching this just yesterday. I pretty much binged it in 2 days, super fast. I loved it. It is going straight into great. I don't think it has ascended to the epitome of anime, to the level of peak fiction yet, but I think it is great. I think that I'm usually a bit harsh with the peak tier, by the way. It is very rare for me to give the peak tier to an anime in its first season, although, spoilers, there will be some in this list. But as far as Clevatess goes, I think it is great for people who love fantasy, like myself. I think a problem we've been having with anime seasons is that usually anime that talk about fantasy are just sloppy isekai that are very derivative of each other, they're very unoriginal, and they sort of just go through the motions and make something that is so mediocre that it is not bad enough to be offensive. You can still, it's sort of like fast food, it is still digestible, it is still something you can eat if you want something sloppy and fast, but it never really leaves you satisfied, and that's the problem we've been having. And Clevatess is a fantasy that is not an isekai. Right away, that's great for me because it just changes the monotony a bit, but I think that Clevatess is legitimately very good because it takes a lot of the fantasy tropes that anime fans will likely already be familiar with and spins them in a different direction. Right in the first episode, we see a crew of heroes trying to take down one of the lords of the dark beasts, Clevatess. And yes, because you are so smart, as you may have guessed, since he is the name of the show, he does not die in the first episode. So the group of heroes fails, Clevatess just whoops their ass thoroughly. There's not really much of a challenge on his part, and then he proceeds to just take revenge on humanity and destroy the kingdom that set out to destroy him. So it's a bit of, hey, they messed around and they did find out right in the first episode, quite brutal, but the anime takes a bit of a twist when Clevatess, this seemingly dark and very cold dark beast, takes an interest in a human child and decides to see if humanity has any value, if he should not destroy humanity, but instead if he should save them or spare them in this case. And so he takes this child under his wing, but then he realizes that he's a dark beast and taking care of a child is actually quite a lot of work. And so he decides to revive one of the heroes, Alicia, to help him take care of the child. And shenanigans ensue from here, and I think this show has a very sort of unique premise in that child raising isn't generally the thing you see in fantasy shows, at least not for the target demographic that is young males. It's usually not a topic they're super interested in, but I think here it is done very well, where you have this dynamic of having this sort of villainous protagonist that has very little care for humanity. You have this very heroic protagonist in Alicia who is so heroic, so brave, so smart, so determined, and truly a hero you want to root for. And then you have this innocent child that you just grow attached to because it's just such a wholesome, pretty little creature. So I really enjoy the dynamic of our main trio, and I think the writing is very good. What I love about Clevatess's writing so much is not only the characters, but also the way the story is orchestrated, where most fantasy shows have a lot of exposition front-loaded in the first few episodes, which can make a bit of a chore to get through, and usually the fantasy fans stick with it because they believe that at the end of the road there will be a worthwhile reward for it, but usually fantasy can be a bit exposition dumpy, especially if it's adapting a light novel. Usually adaptations from books are way more verbose, but Clevatess does this very incredible, very flowy writing where the exposition is given as the concepts emerge and are relevant within the story, but it never really stops and just dumps a lot of stuff on you. Everything keeps flowing, and there's always a good cliffhanger at the end of each episode, and there's a good mix between action and exposition and character dialogue. I really like the way the writing is done in Clevatess. Every episode felt relevant, felt like it kept things moving. There was never really any boring episode to get through, which we'll get to in a bit in some of the series that are here, but I really enjoy the writing in Clevatess, I really enjoy the characters, and I am very excited for Season 2 whenever it comes out. So Clevatess Season 1 is a great. Up next we have Dandadan, and I'm going to be quite honest, I don't know where to put this, because I did put Season 1 in great, if I remember correctly, in A tier, and I did think that this season was equally as good, as in it had a lot of great moments. Every episode in Dandadan is crazy. Talk about pacing. Dandadan keeps it moving. There is never a dull moment, and every episode is so crazy. You have episodes that are like sports anime, you have an episode that is a concert, you have all kinds of weird stuff happening in Dandadan. One thing is for sure, this is a new age anime for the sort of more ADHD people with less attention span that we have nowadays, because Dandadan gets freaky, very fast, and it keeps the freakiness all the way through, and you're always watching an episode wondering where the hell are they going with this, because it's just completely nuts. You have on one episode a villain essentially playing soccer against the main heroes. On another episode you have the ghost of Beethoven trying to stomp our heroes with musical notes. Like, what is happening? This anime is crazy, and I did enjoy it a lot. I think from a production standpoint is equally as good as the first season. I enjoy the romance storyline between our main characters. I think they're very cute, very wholesome, although I will say love triangles are a bit cringy to me. I don't know if that's my personality or me just being a bit older perhaps for these type of shows. But the only thing I do have to say about Dandadan is that Season 2, precisely because it's still so random and so chaotic and so incredibly entertaining, there is also a sense of a lack of progression in an overall story arc, where I don't necessarily know where we're going and if we've progressed much from Season 1. Besides introducing a bunch of new characters, I don't think that we've progressed a lot ever since Season 1. I don't know exactly where we're heading, and that can perhaps feel a bit aimless. So I'm actually going to... I'm going to leave Dandadan at good for now. This is a tentative good. I will still do my tier list at the end of the year. Maybe I'll change my mind until then. But for now, it stays at good, although it could easily be at great. I just wished that it progressed a little bit more in terms of story from Season 1. I think this is as equally as good as Season 1 was. I'm just being a bit harsher on it because I want to see where the story is going and if it progresses in a more fruitful direction. Up next, Lord of the Mysteries. And I'm a bit conflicted on where to put this, because on one hand, I do recognize that Lord of the Mysteries Season 1 has some flaws, and this is very much an anime that, or should I say a donghua, that, yes, by the way, this is a donghua, it's on the list, shut up, moving on. I do recognize that Lord of the Mysteries is not for everybody, and I think I'm confused by a lot of people online who say, oh, why doesn't Lord of the Mysteries is as popular as Solo Leveling, the people don't have taste. It's like, mate, we have to, even if we really love something, we have to be objective and look at it for what it is, and Lord of the Mysteries is very niche. The first few episodes are a lot in terms of exposition, information dumping. It is very confusing, a lot of concurrent storylines, things that you only really understand at the end of the season, things that are set up for future seasons, things that were cut from the book so they perhaps don't have as much context as they should. It is very overwhelming to get through the first few episodes of Lord of the Mysteries. However, once you get through that initial hurdle, I do think this is extremely good. And if anything, I think it manages to grab your attention right from the get-go with its stunning presentation and its incredible soundtrack. The animation for this, I cannot emphasize enough. It is so good and so different from everything we see out there. It is just so refreshing to see. I truly loved Lord of the Mysteries. So, from a sort of reviewer recommender standpoint, I think it is very much a niche anime that is not for everybody. However, for me personally, and this is my list, damn it, I'm going to put it at peak, because I truly loved it. I thought it was peak. I really enjoyed it, and I think it may not be for everybody, but it is certainly for me, and that's who this list is for. If you're completely new to Lord of the Mysteries, it is this isekai where a character gets transported into this fantasy steampunk world where there are the Beyonders, characters who can gain powers through potions, powers that they can grow until they eventually reach a divinity. So there's a very tangible sense of progression with the powers of our main character and other secondary characters and even the villains, and there's this constant mystery of everything is very intricate and very convoluted on purpose, but in a very interesting way, where there are a lot of coincidences which are connected and you only really understand the pieces of the puzzle at the end of the season. And there's a lot of lore and world building and things that are just so delicately written, and you can see the author really put a lot of thought into this, and it's an exciting view of this completely new, very rich world, which can be rewarding for people who like that type of thing. So for example, me, I'm a light novel reader. I do tend to like these more verbose stories. I do like light novel adaptations, even if sometimes light novel adaptations aren't the best. But I really enjoy Lord of the Mysteries, and I think the production value for this, like I said, is off the charts. You are going to be blown away by the animation. So I think it is definitely worthwhile watching as long as you know what you're going in for. You have to brace yourself for impact. The first few episodes will leave you very confused. You are not supposed to understand what's happening at all as long as you go in with that expectation and are, I guess, hopeful enough that the reward at the end of the tunnel will be worthwhile. I think you're going to enjoy this a lot. Up next, Baan, on the boundary of adulthood, I think is the tagline for this. This is actually a show produced by fellow YouTuber Gigak. I say fellow YouTuber as if I know him or something or went to school with him, but either way, Baan, I obviously am going to judge this on a curve because I can't realistically speaking judge an 18-minute episodes against full-fledged seasons who likely had over 10 times the budget this had. So for what it was, I'm going to put Baan at good. I thought it was good for what it was. In an 18-minute episode, it managed to do the build-up, the premise, the development, and the payoff. It managed to get us as attached to characters as we could possibly get in an 18-minute journey. I thought it was very good. It managed to trust the audience to be intelligent enough to fill in the gaps just from what is being seen, so they don't necessarily dump a lot of information on you. This is very much the opposite approach to Lord of the Mysteries. And I think that, I don't know if it was obviously a time constraint thing, right? But at the same time, I do think that Gigak, being an anime fan and being an anime YouTuber and knowing that most of his subscribers are already very familiarized with anime and its tropes, I think he managed to trust his audience to sort of not have to be spoon-fed every little single thing. So I thought it was good for what it was. Once again, the main thing about this is that it's on YouTube. It's readily available for you to go watch. You don't need to pay a subscription service or anything. It's not hidden behind Disney Jail or Netflix or something. You don't need to go to some shady pirate website with possibly viruses and all kinds of venereal diseases to your computer. So you can just go on YouTube and watch it. It's 18 minutes. Once again, I don't think this will necessarily blow you away, but especially if you're someone who has been away from home, who has been away from your family, I think this will perhaps connect a lot more with you. I think just because of the convenience and the short time that it takes to watch it, I think you should just go give it a try. It's a YouTube video essentially, so it will likely be shorter than this video you're watching right now. So be sure to go check it out. I thought it was very good, and hopefully this opens the door for future works to be done. So I'm putting Baan at B tier, at good, and it gets my personal stamp of approval, which means a lot, obviously. Up next, we have To Be Hero X, who, if I'm not mistaken, I said it was good last season with the expectation it would become great when it was finished, and I was right. I did enjoy To Be Hero X a lot. I think it is deserving of the A tier because it was great. I think that To Be Hero X, the thing is, it introduces a lot of heroes throughout the episodes. The first season is pretty much a compilation of mini, let's say, 3 to 5, 6 episode story arcs where they each introduce a new hero, and a lot of the story arcs are also converging and interweaving, and there's a lot of things you see from both perspectives, and it's super. I really like the writing in this show because it's always focused on a hero, but then sometimes you see the other perspective, and sometimes the events sort of make sense in a different way in your head. It's super cool to see the writing, the way it's done. But the thing about To Be Hero X is that it introduces a lot of heroes and doesn't have like a strict main character, which can make it hard for you to get equally attached to everybody because you'll always have your favorite. And so sometimes you have a hero that you really like, but then you transition to this other hero who you may not be as enthused with, and so it may diminish diminish your enjoyment of the series. I think the first few episodes were very strong, and I definitely greatly enjoyed some heroes more than others. I think the middle episodes, especially when they were focusing on Lolly, who's this hero who's pretty much, I guess, the Lolly version of Iron Man. She has a robot suit and just punches people with it, and it's cool, but it was sort of losing me a little bit, but then it ramped up towards the end, and the final episode, my goodness, it definitely blew me away, and it gets me so excited for season 2, where all of these heroes that have been introduced will converge and bang it out in an awesome tournament. And this show has stunning animation and an incredible soundtrack. So the audiovisual aspect of it is such eye candy. It's so entertaining to watch, and the storytelling is, like I said, also very, very compelling, with very clever uses of cliffhangers and double perspectives. I really like what they do, and I just think To Be Hero X is super strong and really set up for an even stronger second season. I want to give a particular shout out to my main man X, who is actually the strongest hero in the show as of the time of season 1, and the last episode focuses on him, and it's just mind-blowing what they do with the animation. They have this mix of 3D and 2D style, and it all blends so well, and you get some wacky, trippy animation sequences that are just so entertaining to watch. There's a moment where he grabs a car from a billboard and starts driving it, and it's so cool. I really recommend, if you like superheroes, if you like these sort of well-animated action shows, to really go give To Be Hero X a try. I think you'll enjoy it. Up next, Sakamoto Days, Season 2. It was good. It was good. It was entertaining. The thing about Sakamoto Days is that I think you need variety in a season, and just like we had shows like Lord of the Mysteries, where my brain started fuming at some points just trying to keep up with it, sometimes you need some good old comedy action shows that really you can just turn your brain off and watch and sit back and have a great time. And I had a great time with Sakamoto. I can't realistically put it super high up on the list, because even on the animation department it's not as strong as the series above it, but I will say, in terms of entertainment value alone, I loved Sakamoto. It was super good. I was always entertained by it. I got really good laughs with it. It is just a comedy action show where this dude who runs a convenience store is actually an assassin, but he cannot let his family know that he's an assassin. So he gets into all kinds of wacky adventures, and then the people come after him, but he tries to be all secretive while also dispatching all of these assailants, and it's super, super cool. It's super funny. This second season was a bit more action oriented than the first one, but still with a very strong comedic tilt. And it's very hard for me to really analyze much about Sakamoto, because it is very much the typical comedy battle shonen, but it executes what it tries to do so well, and it's just so entertaining. And like I said, you need variety. You can't always be watching shows like Lord of the Mysteries, which require a lot of attention from you and for you to keep track of a lot of information, or for you to watch very heavy emotional shows like Takopi's Original Sin. Sometimes you just want to sit back, relax, have some fun, and I think that Sakamoto does that perfectly. So in case you're looking for something more comedic, something more entertaining for you to watch, I think Sakamoto achieves that perfectly, and therefore it stays strongly and proud and determined at the B tier. Up next, Gachiakuta, and I will say, thankfully, I watched the most recent episode before recording this video, because I loved the last episode. It just blew me away. I did not know that the show would go into such heavy themes and that they would be written so well, because it's the first work from the author that I'm seeing, and I just loved it so much. Usually when certain action shonen anime try to go into heavier themes, it can come across as a little bit distasteful, or a little bit poorly written, or a bit just for shock value, sometimes even a little bit fetishized, which I know is a conversation that leaves a lot of anime fans uncomfortable, but I think Gachiakuta just did it perfectly, and it was impactful, it was sad, it was emotional, but it was very strong writing, and it really gave me hope that the series, which I already loved, I had already made a video about it, I really love Gachiakuta, but I think it can be even better now, and I'm even more hopeful for the future. Gachiakuta for me goes straight into the great tier without any hesitation, because I was already loving it and I'm enjoying it even more after the last episode. I think the premise is very strong. You have this a pristine island where everything is pretty and perfect, and then you have the underworld where the trash is thrown at and these people live in the middle of the trash and they have to deal with it. And you sort of have this sort of dichotomy of society, but also you have this very tortured main character who has abandonment issues and is dealing with it, and his very power uses trash. It gives meaning to trash, it makes it useful, it imbues it with power, and sort of connects with his overall character arc. And I just think that for an action show, this is very much well thought out. The world building is fascinating, everything connects. I love the pacing of this because it's not the sort of super fast-paced style we have in modern shonen, like Jujutsu Kaisen, for example, where things move super fast. Here it is very much the pacing that reminds me of stuff I used to watch growing up, where it does have some world building and it keeps things moving. It's not something like Inuyasha, for example, where nothing happened for 200 episodes. Here the things keep moving, but it has a slower pace that allows you to enjoy moments and sometimes sit still with a few lines of dialogue or just a few moments of just looking at the surrounding scenery. I really like the pacing for this show. I think it's the perfect pacing for me, and the character designs and the overall world is just drawn so beautifully. Every character just screams personality. The designs are rough and super cool to watch, and the world itself is filled with graffiti, and it really manages to have this sort of the culture and ambience that very few anime have. So I really love Gachiakuta. I'm very hopeful for season 2. I could do the sort of approach where I put it at good, but I with the expectation of putting it at great in the second cour, but screw that, it's going straight into great. I love Gachiakuta and would definitely recommend it to any fan of shonen. Up next, Kaiju number 8, season 2, my beloved, goes straight into mid. Nah, just kidding. It's good. It's good. Come on, it's good. It's whatever. It's good. Kaiju number 8 for me, in case you've never watched a video from me before, my opinion of Kaiju number 8 is very simple. It is very much a standard generic battle shonen. It is okay at what it does, but it never really left me super excited to watch it. I don't think it goes above and beyond what is the average expectation, but it also is never truly mediocre or bad in anything it does. It's just, it's average, it's good, it's entertaining to watch. I think it has an older main character that really gives it a bit of a different flavor, but the thing is they don't do much with it. I think it's not as juvenile as it could be, but this second season in particular, number 1, felt very short with only 11 episodes and leaving you in a middle of a cliffhanger where there was no resolution to anything we watched in this season, and the middling episodes were a bit too slower paced, and they really sort of, it feels like they sort of recycle the same story arc for multiple characters, which felt a bit disappointing. So the writing isn't very strong, but the moments of action in this show can be exciting by themselves, and it feels almost like the character writing takes a bit of a background. It's sort of almost just a vehicle to have cool action scenes, which, to be fair, the action scenes are pretty cool. I think this show is very much the anime equivalent of a B movie, something you watch on a Saturday, maybe it's playing on television. I wouldn't say that this is a masterpiece by any means. I don't think it's very good, but I also don't think it's bad. It is good, it is entertaining, it left me satisfied, it left me content. Not excited, but content, so that's something. Anyway, Kaiju number 8, if you want to see military dudes brawling it out with giant monsters and punching them in the face very hard, then Kaiju number 8 is for you. Up next, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, the movie, part 1, or whatever the full name for this is. Either way, I'm going to put this at great, because keeping the same logic I've been using throughout the video, I have to grade this on a curve, and as a standalone movie I would definitely put it on B tier, but as part of a grander trilogy where my expectations are much different, I think this has to go in great. Even though this is Demon Slayer, okay, this is what, season 4, season 5 technically, so I'm not going to recommend this to anyone who hasn't watched Demon Slayer yet. If you know what Demon Slayer is, you know what you're going in for. I don't think the story is necessarily the most intricate storytelling ever. I don't think that the character writing is particularly revolutionary, but this movie is just a spectacle. The animation is gorgeous, the fights, the effects, the swords going swing, with the fire and the water, and oh my goodness, this is just a mind-blowing show. It is so well crafted. It is truly the movie version of eye candy. This show is just completely gorgeous. I loved it a lot. I had a great time. I wish the movie itself was shorter. I do think it dragged a bit with the flashbacks towards the end of the movie, but still, I thought it was a great experience, and I recommend, if you're a fan of Demon Slayer, to go watch it in the cinemas because I think the experience is worth it. Like I said though, if I'm being honest, out of the entire A tier, the great anime, I think that Demon Slayer is very much the more one-dimensional show in here. I do think in terms of writing and storytelling, it's not as good, it's not as complete as the other shows. This is very much a one-trick pony. It really captivates you with the animation, but I think if a show is so strong at a particular aspect of it, that also has to be celebrated. And for something to have such gorgeous animation, I think at the end of the day, this is an audio-visual medium. If the visual blows me away, that counts for something, right? So I do think that even though it can be a bit controversial to some people, I will keep it at A tier because it was great. Up next, Takopi's Original Sin. And once again, this is an anime that I would not recommend to everyone because it is heavy. It is very heavy. This is brutal right from the first episode, and don't let the cute mascot fool you. This anime goes deep and will punch you right in the face, emotionally speaking, not physically. No one will appear from behind the screen. Hopefully not, I mean. Stranger things have happened in 2025. Either way, Takopi's Original Sin, in my opinion, is a very short but impactful journey. At only 6 episodes, it is almost half the length of a usual anime season, but this one really takes its time and hits you hard when it can. And I think that the best way to watch this, in case you haven't watched it yet, is to just start the first episode and brace yourself for impact and be prepared. Don't go in expecting a happy-go-lucky story, but I think it is very much worthwhile watching, and I think that people were perhaps a bit over-influenced by recency bias and were hyping this up as anime of the year, and maybe it is, but I think that the conversation around it has subdued a little bit right now, and people aren't as excited for it as they were initially, but I still think this is very much a peak anime, one of the best anime of the year, and goes straight into S tier beside Lord of the Mysteries, even though they're very different shows. But I think that Takopi's Original Sin, as long as you know what you're going in for and you're ready for the emotional gut punch, I think it can be very good. I think the animation is very good for the type of story that it is. I think the writing is also very solid. I know some people didn't like the ending, but my personal opinion, I don't like when sad stories have a sad ending, because to me, that is the lazy way of doing it. And this is purely subjective. It's my personal opinion. I think that the determination and the hope and the resilience of the human spirit has in some way to be celebrated. And I think being sad and being everything sucks and the world sucks and everything is sad, I think that's the easy way out. And I think to show hope in a very bleak situation, I think that is the harder and more beautiful thing to do. Even if the ending wasn't perhaps as well written as the rest of the show, I still enjoyed it regardless, even though I understand people's problems with it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great show, without a doubt, peak fiction. And I hope this opens the door once again for shorter shows, because I think this show did a lot with 6 episodes and it truly blew me away. And I hope that shows stop feeling this compulsion and this need to have 12 episodes or 24 episodes, to have a full season, because I think the shorter show can be as impactful and truly just remove the bloat and the filler and just punch you in the right places and really leave an impactful, lasting memory. So I love Takopi. I would recommend you to watch this without a doubt. I will say I couldn't handle a season of just shows like this. In between watching Takopi and Lord of the Mysteries, I needed something lighter. I needed Sakamoto Days. I needed To Be Hero X is perhaps a bad example at some points, but I needed a Demon Slayer. I just needed something a bit lighter. So watching Sakamoto Days once again, I think it was just my dessert, my refreshment in between all of this pain and suffering. But really, Takopi's Original Sin, I wouldn't take a season full of it, but as a standalone anime in a season, I thought it was amazing, and I recommend you to go watch it as well. So this is the list. I'm now going to do ordering just for the full controversy, because there's always that one dude in the comments that takes these lists way too seriously. So just for the full-on judgment, let's order these by the order that I like the most. So the best will be the left and the worst will be the right. So Even though I think Takopi's Original Sin as a sort of standalone anime, as a sort of standalone recommendation, I think it's objectively better than Lord of the Mysteries because it is more of a self-contained story and it has a lot less let's say the beginning of Takopi's is immediately impactful, whereas Lord of the Mysteries takes a bit to get cooking, but still, personally, I enjoyed Lord of the Mysteries more. So to me, it is the best anime on the tier list, therefore it stays on the left. As for the A tier, I will say, I think probably To Be Hero X, Gachiakuta. I think Gachiakuta may overtake it once it's done. Clevatess and Demon Slayer being the weakest of this tier feels okay to me. As for the good tier, I think the best is definitely Dandadan. It could easily be on the great tier. I mean, okay, whatever. Dandadan was just upgraded. It goes on the A tier. As far as the good tier goes, definitely the one I enjoyed the most was Sakamoto. As I said, I think it is not an astounding anime, but for what it is, I enjoyed it a lot. And Baan better than Kaiju number 8? I mean, if we're grading it on a curve, if we're grading an 18-minute episode versus 2 seasons of this, yeah, it stayed like this. I don't care. So this is my list. So now let's just take a quick look at what I actually missed, because there was a lot of things that I wanted to watch and couldn't. I wanted to watch the Summer Hikaru Passed Away or whatever it's called. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I just simply had no time. And the thing is, I've sort of taken a bit of a peek into the fall season of 2025, and it seems a bit dry. Not a lot of shows there get me excited. So maybe I'll just do a loop back and just go watch the great shows from summer that I missed. So I think this one is definitely worth taking a watch from what people have recommended to me. Also, this one, what's it called? The Fragrant Flower, Blooms with Dignity. Once again, drama romance. Why is it always in school? But once again, I was a bit hesitant last year. I watched Blue Box. I really enjoyed it. So I may give this a shot if I have the time. Besides that, I do want to address Dr. Stone. I am a manga reader. I read the manga all the way pretty much from when it started to when it ended. I do think Dr. Stone is very fun. It's just not the type of show that compels me to watch it twice because I've already read the manga. I don't particularly feel the need to go watch the anime, but if this adapts the final arc, then I think you should definitely go watch it if you enjoy Dr. Stone because it is very good. I also want to shout out Grand Blue Season 2. This is actually one of my friend's favorite anime of all time. I think it can be very funny. This is pretty much a frat boy, drunk style humor type of anime, which can be fun. I personally, with my particular quirks as a person, I've never really drank alcohol and I don't find drunk humor particularly funny. So I think I dropped the first season halfway through, maybe not even that, but it's just the humor couldn't connect with me. Yeah, I dropped it 3 episodes in. I think it's fine for what it is. I know some people find this super funny. For me, it's just I couldn't connect with it. But if you enjoy that type of humor, definitely go check this out. This is very well rated by a lot of people. Then we have The Shield Hero Season 4. I will definitely be watching this garbage. And you may think this statement is a bit of a contradictory statement because I just said that I was going to watch it and I called it garbage at the same time. But to me, Shield Hero, in case you're new to the channel, this is my guilty pleasure. It is a dumpster fire of a show that is incredibly bad at everything that it does, but if you watch it ironically, it's almost so bad that it's good. It becomes good because it's a parody of itself, and it's so poorly written that it's almost a parody of the entire fantasy isekai genre as a whole. So I am definitely going to be watching Shield Hero, and I will tear it to pieces eventually in a video. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun journey. As an anime by itself, I don't think if you're strapped for time, really don't waste your time with this steaming pile of garbage. But if you, like me, just want to watch the train wreck, I will probably do that, and maybe you should as well. I also want to shout out Tougen Anki. Tougen Anki, does this have an English name that I can pronounce without sounding like an idiot? No, it does not. Okay. So this anime, man, it isn't very well rated. Keep in mind that ratings in my anime list tend to default towards 7 because 7 is what people attribute to good, and most people only really watch shows that they presume to be good, myself included. My average rating is a 7 on my anime list, but so a 6.6 isn't super good, it's actually quite bad. But this anime, it seems like the biggest gooner bait of all time. Every time I watch a clip of this on Twitter, it's always some woman with huge breasts. So if you're into large voluptuous boobies, then be sure to watch this. I don't even know what I'm recommending anymore. I likely will not watch this, but I know there's a segment of people that will appreciate this shout out, so if that's you, then good for you, you know where to go now. Also, particular shout out to Rent a Girlfriend. This is, for many people, their shield hero, their steaming pile of garbage, their guilty pleasure. Rent a Girlfriend, I've never watched this and I likely never will. The very premise in itself is offensive to me as a man, and I would not subject myself to watching something so spiritually broken, but I know a lot of people like to watch this to make fun of it and to just, you know, especially with the events of the manga, which I was watching the controversy on social media just laughing at it because I have no context on this show whatsoever, but it was just, it's so bad. If you know, you know. Yeah, for a lot of people who like to make fun of bad, stupid things, this is one of those. For what it's worth, I think the character designs and the animation, I think it's good from what I've seen, but it's just, the writing is just, you know, yeah, it's a dude who rents a girlfriend. Like, come on, guys. Go touch grass. Either way, I just offended someone very badly. I'm sorry, man. If you enjoyed this, it's okay. We can still be friends. Rent a Girlfriend. Just shout out to Rent a Girlfriend. Shout out to Rent a Girlfriend. And finally, to finish off with the movies, I think the Chainsaw Man movie is coming out near me next month. So when it does come out near me, I will review it and I will cover it on the massive tier list at the end of the year. And also, this will likely never come out near me, unfortunately. This is 100 meters. It is from the same author as Orb, which Orb was tremendous, possibly anime of the year last year. So if this is from the same author, I naturally want to watch this. It will likely never come out on the cinema near me, but hopefully in a few years it comes out on some streaming service that I can watch it on. So also shout out to this one. And this was it for me today, folks. As usual, I tend to yap a lot in these videos. These tier lists are always my biggest videos, but if I do like a 10-second review per anime, I'm not really doing anything, am I? So I always have to talk a bit about each one. So be sure to leave in the comment section what your favorite anime were, what you would recommend for me to watch that I haven't watched yet. And as always, leave a like, subscribe, leave a hype, whatever that is, and ciao!